Welcome to episode 85 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening and viewing on YouTube. Thank you. Welcome if there's your first time. Go and take in some older episodes. You can find out what it's all about too. You know what I mean? The older episodes don't go nowhere, you know. So anything you miss out, you can check back. And talking about miss out, last week I make a little mistake. I tell you the COVID fog is real, you know. I started to talk about it and forgetting what I'm talking about midway. And last week somehow, when I upload the episode, I put the date as the 4th of January rather than February. I don't know how I get mixed up there, but if you typically listen on one of them podcast apps like Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, all of them, if you're a listener more than a viewer, right? Go back through your old stuff and you go find episode 84 listed on the 4th of January. Sorry about that. Apologies. We're blaming it on COVID. It's the COVID fog. So I see the numbers low last week and I figured people must tell themselves that no episode. There was an episode last week. That was 84. This week is 85. Just scroll down in your podcast apps and you'll find it. On YouTube, all is good. I do the right thing on YouTube. So I'll have the right dates in chronological order and all these things. Thanks for everybody who commented on YouTube too. Them YouTube comments making for interesting little bits of discussion and giving me food for thought in terms of you know me, I quickly change my opinion when I get new information. So as people present new things, I probably will revisit them week by week. So I could respond not just in the comments in YouTube, but respond on the podcast itself. Because they had some interesting feedback on the economics part of the thing. I had no idea that anybody would enjoy that little talk on economics. I mean, people like, I guess that's part of the controversy and the cankalang too. I don't know. I find people like Bacchanal and woman talk and things, but apparently we like little, you know what I mean? So I want to revisit that today for sure. But what I want to encourage people to do, sorry if you don't subscribe and if you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, take a little minute and go over to my YouTube channel and hit the little subscribe button and the bell, the notifications and these things from there. It helps and it goes a long way. If you're done subscribing on YouTube and you do listen, find a podcast app and do that too for me. Let me get my numbers up. But for anybody who listening and coming and going, especially those abroad that see it popping in and popping back out, it would be great if all you subscribe and those, especially on YouTube, those subscriptions make a big difference in terms of how many more people the podcast is exposed to. So I'm going back to my appeals to subscribers. Forget to ask people that and thing, And I don't know how to do it on video yet. You know how when people on YouTube, normal people, up-to-date people, they just put a little thing while they're talking to say, YouTube, pop-up thing, subscribe, ping, you see the little bell? It's about 6 weeks now I'm trying to figure out that I can't figure it out yet. But I have a new producer who hopefully he figures it out before me. And when he figures it out, we go have that, right? So that is where we are with the new podcast. We in February and all. Yeah? I know all the old talk, right? And you see how fast January passed. Usually January is the month of sufferation when you're waiting a whole long time for the salary. And I didn't go through that because quick. We until January month and then February. What I do find though is that like my January salary was already assigned because when I thinking to myself, all right, well, that is it. I know more money. When I watch, it's about the 2nd of February. So thank God February is a short month. Let me see how far we is from a month. Not this week, not next week, probably the week after. I could rally through for a week or two on ramen and sliced bread, man. We go rally through. So just keep in mind, look at it, just watch how fast the time moving and the fact that we're in February already. And, well, it's Trinidad, so we in shorter issues. Normally, we carnival time, we could find song to play and song to sing in a normal year. My little parents side done transition into a calypso side already, and we jamming some new little soca from this year or some oldies and them thing, but boy, nothing. Salt. So we sticking to the regular issues. We have some music to play too, right? So you'll stay tuned for that. But I want to jump right into the biggest issue of the week so far. Well, I guess all the issues for this week big. I know what's going on. But I want to go back to the pods because I realized that I don't know if I leave the impression last week that I against the pods or the carnival, the taste of carnival in any way, you know what I mean? And I want to make it clear. Let me clarify. If anything I say that I don't agree with this week, I'm blaming it on COVID fog, right? The reality is that I am in support of the idea of the pods. I'm in support of the government putting money towards doing something this carnival. And I also do remember that last year, they had some decent, I might be mixing up last year and year before, but they had some decent virtual events because I remember Second Star doing his show. Kes had a few shows. I remember Soca Monarch last year. I find the Soca Monarch last year was vibesy. I like the challenge that the entertainers have of performing in front of nobody or very few people and making it into something. And I'll tell you this, right? Don't underestimate entertainers. Because I see, who was it, boy? I think it was Terry Lyons. Boy, I can't remember right now, but I saw an article this week with an artist, a soca artist or calypsonian, talking about not just the money aspect of Carnival and missing out on the financial part. She was saying that she missing out being on stage. She missed performing and getting there for people. And listen, artists, like performing is part of the outlet. So it's part of the mental health too, not just the financial well-being we had to worry about. So I'm glad to see artists get an opportunity to go there and express themselves, you know what I mean? Do the performance. I see. And salute to OJO. That breakfast series is a little vibes. That's like a little mini show, you know. And you know, the thing about our soca artists, and soca is such a unique genre, calypso, our music, the way we treat our music and musicians, is that we turn giants in the art form into people that we could judge based on some metric that we call relevance that seem to have something to do with whether you have a hit song this year or not. You ever notice that? Our biggest artists, our icons, people who solidified by any measure, whatever measure you want to use. What you want to use? Competition. You want to use FaceTime. You want to use brand recognition. You want to use quality of songs, international recognition. We have artists that have passed all those things. And we still want to judge them based on whether it is you come with a good song this year or not. And when I say judge them, judge the relevance in terms of promoters booking them for the fets. We as our patrons or customers or fetters, we judge them based on what they have this year. Like we forget all the long time music, you know. I mean, we even judge DJs because sometimes we go to the fete and we vex with the DJ because the DJ playing too much of last year music. We only want to hear this year music. That's a travesty, you know. I didn't plan to start there, you know, but I was like, I got on a road here, I can't turn back now. That is a travesty. That is not. So, for instance, we have, when you look at old rock bands, you're talking about Neil Young last week, we talk about Joe Rogan this episode too again, but we talk about legacy acts who tour all over the world based on their catalog. While we have artists here who cannot perform their catalog because if they don't have a hit this year, you don't see them in the carnival at all. You have to go and look for them if you want to see them. And if they have a hit, we as patrons, we as fetters only want to hear the this year hit. And they don't have time on the stage because it's a run-on. You know, soca artists have this kind of run-on mentality. I go run in, I go mash up, and I go run to the next event. I find that is a kind of destruction of something that's like an art form. It's such a sacred thing. There's a kind of destruction of it. So let me give you an example, right? I see Shonu in Chester on OJO this week. And people let's forget. I remember being in a clubhouse room and people talking about what's wrong with Shonu in Chester and why he can't find a next hit and how he fall off and he just rise and fall. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Shonu in Chester is one of the greatest soca artists of all time. Some of the biggest hits in the carnival season was Shonu in Chester. Some of the nicest groovy is Shonu in Chester. Timeless music. And also, one of the people who on a stage and with a mic in his hand is so hard to match. Not just his energy and what's shown in Chester. I don't know what's the right word. It's like encapsulate people. Like he's just take control. I remember a time we had an event, right? This is in Marketing World. And the event was for Sony Electronics. Now, Sony had made a home system. Stay with me, right? A domestic boombox. What you call them thing? A component set. You remember them thing? Everybody used to have one of them thing long time home. Sony had make one of them things, right? That was 2,000 watts of power in a man's house. Now, I keep thinking, I'm in the marketing business, so I trying to help them sell it because it's in my best interest to sell it. But I keep thinking while we're trying to sell it that this is going to end up in townhouses and apartment buildings that are going to drive neighbors crazy because that thing was real powerful. That thing was booming coming through. And the event was really just to promote that song system, whatever you want to call it, CD player and all them things back in the day. And Sony had always, when we work at Sony, they always wanted to work with the local artists, right? So they wanted our music and our genre to come true in their product launches so that people could get a sense for it using our music rather than you're just looking at ads that have rock music or some foreign music, which makes sense. I like that. So it give me a chance to go through booking. Salute my guy Umba, because I can't deal with the idea. You see, booking artists and things, that's a rough thing for me. So Gratefully, I could always pick up the phone and call Umba and say, Umba, we're looking for this person, that person. So I call Umba and I tell him, boy, this is the event we have. Who you feel we could get? This is the budget. He say, boy, Sherwin is the man. I say, all right, well, Sherwin is a giant. You know what you're going to get when you send for Sherwin Winchester. You know what I mean? So the event is in Stumbling. The Stumbling not open to the public for the launch part of the event, right? Sony had just invited Court, Standards, PriceMart, the people who buy from them. They invite them to come and partake, you know what I mean, in the launch event. And then once that formal part was done with the speeches and the product unveil and all that kind of thing, they open it to the public. Now, if you ever went to one of these corporate events, right, people is hold back. I myself, right, I have corporate mode. And when you see I go in corporate mode, I well spoken, I try and behave, I don't like to play with my money, you know. So everybody in corporate mode and we watching the thing and they playing music, a DJ playing and stumbling. The thing nice, you know what I mean? It going very corporate. We you know what I mean? You start to swizzle a drink, mix it like this, you know that kind of vibe. When the formal part was done, I been in contact with man thing online, man, all right, we this far. So I said, well, all right, you know what I mean? The thing will reach. But Sean was supposed to perform while the club was still closed. It just so happened they reached a little late and the club was already open and people were coming in. So now the men from Sony have me under pressure now. They're like, Corey, we promised these guys a performance and this and that. I say, yeah, the artist on the way, this, that. And, you know what I mean? I staying with them. Everybody, people starting to get on edge because they pay for this and they ain't see any man yet. Little bit after Umba text me, I come out by the door and Sherwin. Sherwin is the most soft-spoken person you've ever been around. So he come... I stop and just short of using the word timid, right? Because he ain't shy or he ain't timid or he ain't frightened to talk or nothing. He just very, very soft-spoken. So I talking to him and I was like, yeah, well, you know what I mean? The club done open already. But we promised them the performance, we had a performance. He's like, yeah, no problem, you know what I mean? Whatever. You think we ran a little late, sorry about that, this, that. I said, well, sure, listen, whenever you're ready, you know, because you said, he said, just give me a few minutes, I'm going to settle myself and thing. I said, all right. So at that point, no, this is my first time ever talking to him. Anytime I see Sherwin before that, I am sweaty in front of stage and he's sweaty in front of me and his vibes. So I'm a little surprised to see this subdued version of him. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh God, boy, I wonder if Sherwin was the right man for this thing because we done late. We be the club full now. These people want their money's worth in terms of promoting the thing. And I was like, oh God. So if he come in this mood where he laid back and thing, I say, boy, I wonder if this man going he treating this like a small event then, like he in business about it or if he just not in the mood or whatever it is. So eventually I went back to him. I say, well, here what? They're asking for you to do some pictures with the officials from Sony and this and that and the other and, you know, do some photos with the products. Now, I don't know how to ask for these things because I be conscious of a man value. I can't determine somebody value, especially on behalf of foreign products, which we had represented a lot back then. If it's a local product, I might feel a little more comfortable, but I always feel like Sony and them shouldn't just take pictures with a man like Sean Winchester. You pay him to perform, let him perform. Don't ask him to take no picture with the product because if it was Rihanna and A$AP Rocky and the baby, all you would have paid them a separate check for everything that they do. But I mean, we done there already, we reached late and things. He said, no problem. He went and he take the pictures and things. So I seen him more in artist mode now because now he in the club and he around people and people hailing him and all this thing. But let me tell you something. When Sherwin went on that stage, a kind of energy come out of that man that just encapsulate the whole place. It's indescribable. I mean, if you went fets before, you know what I'm talking about, right? But to see it in a small venue, up close and personal. And he came with his DJ. I think DJ was Kamau at the time. Salute to Kamau. He come in the DJ and I tell him, listen, Sherwin, the time is yours. You know, the minimum time you have is half hour, but it's nobody else to perform. Or you perform as long as you want. You know what I mean? You booked for a certain time, but the stage is yours. We ain't stop until you stop. And he got a chance to go through catalog because them people in Stumbling now they in go mode and they start calling for songs and songs that he might not be performing on a regular basis. They start calling for them and he completely destroyed our show. The next year we had the event, I see Iowa George do the same exact thing because Iowa Umba again, I call Umba and I say, boy, Umba, we had to get somebody and think Umba say, boy, swap easy, man. We done had show in Winchester last year. They love that, so they're looking for artists every time they launch a product. This one now is in Carlton, Savannah. And Swappy supposed to be the man performing. This time, Swappy, I can't remember what Swappy hits will be at the time, but he's the man them time, right? You know what I mean? So we have a big artist and we on Carlton Savannah rooftop. We do a whole setup in the presidential suite with all Sony products, TV, PlayStation, stereo system, the whole work. So this time the event going good. We have Salute Pixie Dukudre because we have some little girls and things, the full works. Good event. And just before we reach to the formal part of the thing, where again he had to do the product reveal, and I think it's the president of Sony at that time, he talking and stuff. I get a call from Umba now, so I said, all right, well, must be running late again. Umba called to tell me, boy, Swappy gets stuck in Grenada. Swappy can't come to the event again. Now, this is embarrassment, eh?
He gets stick?
Yes, he had a flight. He was supposed to have a flight from Grenada to Trinidad, but he couldn't make the flight. Is the producer seeking clarification mid-episode? I've never seen nothing like this yet. Yeah, but so Swappy stuck. So Umba calling me now. Now I'm nervous. I was like, Umba, what you mean the man can't make it? People here waiting for... Umba say, hold on, don't worry yourself. Let me see who I get. Swappy, we can't do nothing more that. And so now I can't tell the men and them nothing, but they don't know of Swappy or anything like that. They just know the guy in artists. At this point, they trust me. We show them Chester. Give me the equity to be able to get rid of this year. Eh? Umba called me back in about 5 minutes. He say, but yeah, we're going on. George say he go do it with the same money and everything. So we go organize and George will come up and do it. He said, give him about a half hour. It's Iowa. Listen, Iowa that year had come to me. And this time there was no opening of the event to the public like what we did with Stumbling, right? It's just the officials and dignitary type people. And you know what I mean? That's the squads who up there. So that year Iowa have come to me. And you remember that song, come to me. Oh, yeah, you're jab style, right? These people don't know this song. They don't know who is Iowa George. And I would take that mic. We put 2 Pixie models to flank the stage. They might have stage, you know, he performing on the ground in front of people. And I would take that mic and start sing what? The man is singing loud to it. So that man take over that thing and have people with that come to me. That song was almost, you know, conga line is have a party when everybody join a conga line. It was almost the same thing with people that come to me and go away from me and thing. I see I will just destroy that. So I know how I read so far. The point I was trying to make is this. Artists like Iowa George, Sean Winchester, I mean, just to name a few, they should never be asked anything about what happening currently if they don't feel to release a song. The way they perform, the quality of music they have, the hits that they have, the catalog. And not even just hits, you know, B-sides, song that they don't perform again. We ain't here in a long time. They could carry on whole shows. And it's a Caribbean thing too, because I see it in Jamaica a lot where you go to a show like, I remember going to Champions in Action in Portmore one time, right? Them days is Cartel versus Movado. And you're staying there whole night from 10 o'clock in the night. Well, when you go 10 o'clock, it's me alone in there. But when you spend the whole night, you see an artist, it's just a pass-through kind of vibe. So by the time morning reach now, 6 in the morning, it's hot sun. And Bounty Killer and them come on and everything. You only get a few songs from over, or not just a few songs, but like a verse and a chorus, if that, and then somebody else taking the mic. Now that have a vibe and it have a mashup kind of element to it too, but it make me realize that Jamaicans wouldn't have really seen Beanie Man perform the way we see Beanie Man perform when he do his whole catalog and do a couple hours on the stage. Because when we get him to come here, we might have supporting acts and thing, yes, but we have a thing where 10 different artists on the stage fighting for a mic to see who could, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's something locally here that we have to do better with. We had to reach the point where we treat legacy acts like legacy acts. So I'm saying all this to say that I'm grateful for platforms like OJO. That was the long route I take there, but I'm grateful for platforms like OJO that basically allow for a longer format performance. I wish there were more platforms like that where I think what I'm trying to say is I wish those platforms were taken offline as well, where we could go to a fete and see a full performance. And some of the young artists have plenty catalog too, because when you watch a man like Ding Dong. Salute to Ding Dong. One by one. You know when was the first time I'd noticed that with Shal? Well, Shal bubbling and he has songs and you know what I mean? None of them are no big hit or nothing, but you realize that when you do catch a hit or you're so consistent, after a few years, like your catalog, when you stand up to perform, you had different moods, different topics, different vibes. You could give people different speed and everything. And I think Ding Dong and his OJO performance show that in a lot of ways the demand there. And something about Ding Dong real infectious to watch overall. But anyway, First topic, because all that had nothing to do with what we was planning to talk about, So,
Wow.
uh, see, producers are hater. So, going back to my thoughts on these pods for the carnival, right? I am in support of the pods. I probably want to go to a few of them events. I will get to what events they have and which ones I feel I might be headed to. Let me tell you where my difficulty lies. My difficulty don't even lie with the $30 million or the $35 million figure. This is the issue, right? We see somebody come out as the head of NCC, who would be one of the most important people in the production of a carnival or putting on a carnival, right? Saying that he have a budget that is going to be between $25 and $30 million. That's what we said last week. And in the process of constructing pods and sending out, well, they say the first schedule was fake, but a second schedule came out pretty quickly, which uh, spelled out what events we're going to have, which one's virtual, which one's in person. They're going to have panorama. All that talk was going on before, right? And my difficulty is with the same thing we were talking about last week, where it's public sector versus private sector. So if 30 million is the figure, if it's for culture, I find it should be 300 million. My issue is whether the government is the one who's going to spend that money or whether they're going to facilitate the process and put it in the hands of business people. And this is the thing, I'd not necessarily take 300 million and hand a business person. But look at what we need from an infrastructural standpoint. Take a step back, like a board meeting, like a strategy meeting to say, okay, carnival to us means $500 million worth of hotel rooms. It means X amount of flight for Caribbean Airlines. It means food go sell. And hey, I have to make an apology from the last episode too. My humblest apologies. Because every time I say Hotfoot Sarah, if you didn't listen to the last episode yet and you couldn't find it, it's for good reason, right? Every time I say Hotfoot Sarah last week, what I meant was Hotfoot Harmony. Sorry. Another young man is the COVID fog.
Yeah, when you talk about the government just now, you might not want to do that. Remember this going on the internet, and if the government see this, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I just go and talk about the government freely. You go in a government school, you got to worry about that. So so it's Hotfoot Harmony, right? Not Hotfoot Sarah. I'm sorry to Hotfoot. So follow Hotfoot Harmony just to clarify for all the little tidbits and information on our history, which I feel I know a good bit. I felt like I know a good bit of until I start following her. And her page is just real. It's energetic. It's very, very young. It's fresh, and she's presenting something to, I would think, a younger generation. But I've fallen into that too because I learning plenty when she does it, and she's make it snappy, very much fun and easy to remember in the way that she does her. She has two so far that I really liked. One where Pat Castani had written the national anthem and the story behind that, which I spoke about last week, and then one on how we spell soca wrong, coming from what Rashoti had come up with the term soca and what we call soca now. We spelling it wrong all the time. So salute to Hotfoot Harmony. Eventually I'll get it right. Yeah, you see, you have to stick with this podcast, you have to come every week to get the correct thing. Because I ain't always say the correct thing in the right episode. But yeah, if it is you're taking the money from, if you're taking the approach to Carnival from a strategic standpoint, you look at it and say, okay, this is what Carnival earns us now. We want Carnival to earn us a revenue figure of X. And I'm talking tax revenue most of all. I don't want the government going to no profit making thing. This is my opinion. So if I say, all right, of that 500 million that going in hotels, we get 50 that's come to us in terms of taxation. The promoters and them have businesses. We charge them their tax, the 25% corporate tax. This is what we earn when they have vets. So I could then make an investment in the infrastructural things. And when I say infrastructural things, what I mean is each individual promoter or each individual mass band could become unprofitable if they have to build their own venue, right? Let's say try build a venue for their own mass where you could have a parade just like how you're on the streets. So they buy up about 150 acres down in Central and they have their own mass, their own route, their own stage, their own judging. That's not going to be profitable for them because when they had to pour that money up front, how much they will sell us a costume for? It's not different from what the government would have done with Point Lisa, where oil and gas concerned, what I was talking about last week. So if they take it from an infrastructural standpoint, in other words, facilitate. So you have $30 million to spend. All right, the Savannah is one venue that we do things. For some strange reason, or maybe not so strange reason, we choose to build and destroy a Savannah stage and a North Stand every single year. Every year. For years. We spend the money to build it. And this is so you can't vex because here Gypsy on the Red Hot, not the Red Hot Morning Show, Slam 100.5 Morning Show, Blaze and Miles, this morning. You know that's my favorite show by now, right? But Gypsy was on there this morning talking about he was saying everybody just talk about thief. Everything is somebody thieving. 30 million have any to thief, how you thieving it. We seeing exactly where the money is spending on things. This is why people get accused of thieving, because it seems as though, and this is what salute my guy Naldo from the alternative perspective podcast. I'll get it right, 868. Salute to him, because he was saying that one of the things we had to realize is that the government funds in the government hand is being efficient, is disappear, and those types of things. This is why people is accused of that, because it seems as though the government more interested in projects for the sake of issuing contracts than projects for the sake of betterment for the society. So when I say this is what I mean. You build up the Savannah stage and the stands. Let me say they're costing you $1.5 million to execute that, right? You build it up, and let me say it costing you 500,000 in labor fees and material and everything to break it down and to clean up and everything. You do that every single year, and you give that to somebody who is a friend and family of the party. You know what I mean? And with that one, when them guaranteed that 1 point something million every year, like Gypsy say, how you go thief and thing? Because who never hear about kickback and favor and this and that, and I will give you this and this go come back in party financing, and who never hear about the biggest companies in this country who just give 100 million to one party to campaign and they give 50 million to the next one, just in case all you upset the big boys. All it is, I still have 50 million inside there. And then what they want out of the business, out of the government in power now, they want back 150 as the investment, because I spend 100 by you, but I spend 50 by them, but I want 50 out. So I have to give me at least 150 in business for me to be back in the clear. I not accusing nobody and nothing. I just asking who never hear about these things before. So when Gypsy talking about thief, Gypsy talking about everything is thief and everything in this country is somebody thief. Gypsy, the people you say now next to in parliament, that is what they're accusing the next side of as we speak. Your prime minister come out last week to talk about who thief and who. That is what we do. We always talk about you are a very unique individual in that you are PNMU and CNCC. Use all the any acronym it have, use that. Maybe you're defending both sides in your own way, because who knows who you go run for when next year come, or which organization you could be running when election come next time. I'm surprised you're not down in DB running for that corporate. No, but you ever see? You know, see, you should go DB and run with that open that election supposed to be final by them results by now. But if the government take this approach where we facilitate business, so you say, okay, meet with the stakeholders. You have a promoters association. You have a pan players, Pan Trinbago, for instance. And let me not use Pan Trinbago, because I even want the organizing body to be private sector too. You see how the promoters come together and they make their own thing privately? That is not a government body when you say promoters association. Bring them. Bring the Mass Bands Association. Who else it have? The Food Vendors Association. Bring private sector representatives, you know what I mean? And have a meeting with them to say, okay, we have Carnival now. Carnival earns us as a society 100 million. Remember we were talking about GDP and them thing last week? Growing the economy. We say, listen, we have a plan for how this economy going and grow. Right now, the economy is a $60 billion economy. We want to grow it to 120. So Carnival, we want you to move from, you don't contributing 5 billion to that 16, but we want you to move from 5 to 7.5. We have X, we could invest in it. What all you feel we could do? What we want? A permanent venue for Carnival? So they could rent our venues, because that is the one way that we could earn money. What you need again? All you need a specific route for how we're going about it. All you need police presence. What are the things that we can do to facilitate business, facilitate promoters? Even if we want to go as far as saying, boy, listen, all these fare too expensive, we want to facilitate young micro entrepreneurs to come and become promoters. I want to make this industry more competitive. I want to call in people. So you're not dependent on the big boys in the carnival. You're not dependent on the tribe, the humor, the Kyrie people, the Scorch and Caesar's Army and Private Ryan. You're not dependent on them alone. You're building the industry so that when these fellas, remember when island people used to throw the biggest fets in carnival? How old are you? Right? And that, I ain't hear about the island people fight in a while. So when you have a Scorch and Caesar's Army and them throwing the biggest fets in Carnival now, we had a plan to say, okay, who is a younger generation of people who coming in and going to take that spot eventually when them fellas fed up through them big events. Young people don't want to go those events, and so who is this? Penny and them who doing Tobago now? How do we foster that? How do we grow that? The government will also play a critical role, and I think they do now, in terms of how do we preserve the parts of Carnival that we need to push forward that may not be attractive for private sector investment. Let me use a bad example, right? I'm not saying that this is not, but let me use a bad example and say that stick fighting may be something that a private sector company or a private promoter might invest in and might find hard to get sponsorship. Let me just say it's violent, people like it bust, whatever the thing might be, right? And it's a poor example because when I see the crowds that turn out for stick fighting, I think sponsors will be interested. But let's just assume you have an element of Carnival that is like that people not going to, that private corporate citizens not going to invest in directly with the effort to make money, right? Let's say that they look at that and they say, okay, what I am going to do is facilitate and subsidize and make sure that, or I could incentivize people to make that a part of their events because they have parts of the culture that we don't want to see die off. And we also want to make sure that we have what you call global competitiveness. I don't want to have a bead and bikini costume that anybody in the world could copy. And the way I doing that as a government is to say, okay, we're going to do the bead and bikini and that kind of thing too. But we're going to maintain things that keep us current, keep us unique from the other countries that are doing this or trying to copy us. You know, it's a competitive game. You know? So I'm going to maintain my limbo, my stick fighting, my traditional characters, my rubber talk, and make those elements of Carnival things that people can access. Mm-hmm.
My guy, why do you close your eyes so much?
Bye. What's wrong with you? So yeah, you get where I'm coming from. So my difficulty is not the 30 million. My difficulty is that they're taking the 30 million to put on actual events themselves. They're going to put on this event themselves and charge the money and try to make the money. It is grossly inefficient. You want to give you an example of the inefficiency? I want you to tell me what private sector organization would want to put on an event or a series of events that would cost them $30 million, right? And would start engaging people and start putting down infrastructure for those events without having the $30 million approved. Let me say they're getting it from the bank, right? Let me say the bank giving you $30 million to put on your event. So I'm projecting to make 65. So I go borrow the 30, I'll make 65, I pay off that 30, and let me say I netting 35 million when the Carnival done. I'm happy as an investor, as a business person, I could live with that, right? Which promoter, or any business person in any industry, which one of them going to engage people, start building things, which suggests to me that some kind of contract sign for what we agree on those things. Who can do that without getting money or getting approval for the money? So, as business people, if you approve 30 million for me waiting until I get that 30, I starting to do what I could do with what I have now because I know that's approved. But who moves forward without the approval? And you want me to tell you who? Gypsy and them. When you're spending other people's money and you're in government, the inefficiency steps in because you don't have a profit. You have no pressure to make profit in this country, at least. If you spend 30 million, none of us, including me, will come and ask in March, April, May for an account of what was spent for the pods and the Carnival, the Taster Carnival, and none of us will hold them to task if they spend 30 and they only make back 2. None of us, and I include myself there. Because that is, we consider government money as free money that don't spend, and we also, I always use this term to describe us, including myself, as a selfishness. Because if I get the contract to build the pods, I build in pod. I will become the fastest pod builder. I done with podcasts, and I become pod builder immediately. That's how we move. So the thing about it is this: when them fellas and them take that 30 or start to engage people, and then you find out from the minister that, hey, it's 25 to 30, all we could afford is 15. And you have somebody like Gypsy, the head of NCC this morning, who was promoting this thing, singing extempo in the pod by people last week, coming to say, well, we're in the process of renegotiating with the suppliers now and the providers because the budget cut from 30 to 15. This is the kind of thing that's happening in public sector. And I included all of us to blame here. I'm blaming no governments on it. I'm blaming all of us collectively because we don't take issue with those things. We don't hold them to task. You start at 30, it cut to 15, man. You go negotiate and work out that. Nobody says anything about that. So it's just the reality. Gypsy also saying in the midst of this thing, because we are week on from when we had these announcements last podcast. And when they asked Gypsy about private promoters, if they could access the venue when it built, you know what was Gypsy's response? Gypsy say, yeah, well, maybe we could rent it to people if they have available and 3 days, people could rent it. I think, like you going through this on the fly. Whatever all you come up with in the moment, all you're rolling with it. And it's a strange kind of thing. Like, no, how much time being spent? And the man say they've been working all along, right, for the whole 2 years, and that's how they were able to have events last year and so on. But when they're asking you that and you say, I would have much rather see them say, okay, we restricting the way events can be done. We spoke to the promoters involved, the people who promote the Calypso 10, the people who do the traditional shows, the people who do pan, the people who do fetes, the people who do parade bands. What we will allow is XYZ, and we have pods and separation. And in our event, we don't know how we manage the vaccination system to see if people have real vaccine card or not. We know how we manage separating people from one pod to the next. Can I hear why I study to myself now, if I'm being honest with all you, right? Because the pod thing, I'm going to tell you how much I like it. I find they should institute a rule where if it's 15 people up in the pod, for safety reasons, only 2 people should be allowed to go in the washroom at any one point in time. And until them 2 come back, nobody else can leave. It's a buddy system, right? You can't let ladies go in the washroom by themselves. So you have to implement a buddy system just in case. But at least it limits the amount of movement that's going on. And you know that for 2 more people to leave to go to the washroom from that pod, 2 more people must come in. So if you have stewards, or he said that a lot of security and things, I find it's a great idea because between me and you, right? If we go the thing to get all of you and your wife, right? And we just had to say me and you going in the washroom. Me and my brethren, say we going in the washroom. And then you know where your wife is. She locked in the pot. So while she locked in the pot, you in other pods having a time. But they're just joking, right? But you understand where I'm coming from? If they have a full infrastructure in place that says not just the building of the actual pods, but the system. This is how we let people in. This is how we sanitize. This is how we check vaccine cards. This is how we let people disperse after the event is over. You have an infrastructure built for that. You could meet with the promoters and say, all right, well, hey, what? We can't allow all to go and do Dong Shagaramas and the stadium. That's too much for us to control. So we're going to do 6 venues throughout the country with this system. And what it will cost you as a private investor to use this system is X. And if it's a small promoter that are now coming out, we're going to give you at a lower price. So we're going to give you for free to encourage more people to get into the business, increase competition, reduce price and all these things. I just find that when you see the government get involved directly in the event, that is when you're going to get complaints from people about who thieving and who handpicking, because then the minister or the head of the NCC now, he making decisions as to who perform. He deciding if it's Mr. Shaq or Karen Ashe or his farmer. Or that's dangerous territory. I find personally, I find that's dangerous territory. You have promoters and things for that. You have business people. You have people who put on their own shows. Artists are talking about who put on their own shows. Like I was using Second Star as an example. He could then decide, all right, well, I used to go up Otinola and spend X anyway. Let me hear what the government's saying for this. At least I know when I come this, my thing's safe. They had a recording people and thing. Is a bubble, is a safe zone, like what they had done for the cricket. What is it called that again? CPL. So I know I'm moving my squad into a bubble. We think, and they controlling how we disperse after the fact. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, because I find that the whole idea of them doing it is ridiculous. So whether it's 30 million, 300 or 15 million or whatever million they give, my issue is not with the figure. My issue is that the people who are be given to manage the actual events and come up with the concepts and stuff, they're starting off as inefficient because they are not the best people to do it. The best people to do it is people who have to do it for a living, because if they don't put out good events, they are going to die. Their parties will no longer be. If they throw events that unsafe and big things happen, they stand to lose what they had built all over them years. So the reality is that it's not much different from what we talked about last week in terms of a shift from public sector investment A shift of the mentality of public sector. Rather than trying to invest to do businesses, you invest and facilitate. You reinvest our taxpayers' money to see how you could grow the economy and let the people who are in the businesses be in the businesses. And it's going to lead to a much faster level of growth in the society and a level of inefficiency with the money that we collected. So I hope all you can tell me in the YouTube comments if all you deciding to go in pods or if all you ain't going no pod. No, I'll be honest with you. Because to see the Friday 4th virtual Calypso tent. I don't miss that already. I didn't see that. The 11th to the 24th is physical Calypso tents in Queen's Hall and Naparima Bowl. Okay. I thought everything was going to be by the pods. All right. So if the event is going to be in different places, and if I could chain up Stacey to go to Calypso tent, boy, what's the tent situation?
No.
She not going?
Nah, she not going.
Extempo, I ain't feel like going no extempo. Hopefully I will catch that on TV. They have pan. I find pan. I never went pan finals. I only went semis. I like the pan for the jamming part. I like the fat version of pan. Not that I need to be on the greens. I do the North stand enough. And I like the North stand. I like the vibe of the North stand. I like the greens too. It should still have that type of event. I guess too much people. But I'm not sure that I could sit down and watch pan. And here the time now. 5 p.m. till midnight. I wonder if the organizers of these things realize that people attention span short and thing. Who going anywhere for 7 hours of pan? You see, you'll get pan enthusiasts. They have people who's purists and love pan so much that they will just sit through all of it. But if you're trying to full out a venue or you're trying to make a commercial success or something, 7 hours of different pan sides, including time to come on and off stage, might not be the best way to have an event. Well, let me put it this way. If you put that same 30 million, right? If you put that in Caesar's Army, you get Caesar's Army or Scorch or Tribe or Kyrie people, you get them 30 million. How much event you feel you will get that is 7 hours long from 5 to midnight? Or you think they will use it more efficiently and attract more money and create events that more people want to come to and will enjoy, and helping with the eye focused on repeat business, so that when people come, they have such a great time, like in a fete like breakfasts, that you want to go every year, and whenever tickets come out, you don't even care who performing, you're just going back breakfasts every year. I don't know, you tell me. Junior Calypso, Senior Kings and Queens, I never get into that too much. I never went and see the Senior Kings and Queens, although I saw this year the defending King and Queens say that they're out. I don't think it is in protest to this or anything like that. They were basically saying that I think what they're trying to say is one was for COVID reasons, and one didn't have enough time to get the thing together. So I guess we're going to have a new King and Queen of Carnival, but definitely ain't going to. Kaiso Rama is extempo rap, so intellectual chutney computer. No, wait, hold on. Kaiso Rama is extempo. This is on the 23rd of February. Like just now. Hey, all these things is just now. February go done quick, yes. Extempo rap, so intellectual. What is an intellectual chutney? Somebody gotta help me. What do you mean by intellectual chutney competition? We gotta work this out because I'm confused. I see in from the Guardian here from Shastri Budan. 10 finalists selected for intellectual chutney monarch competition. Chutney lovers are in for some good news. The National Chutney Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago will be staging its first ever senior category of the Intellectual Chutney Monarch competition this year. Okay. Rad said the NCC and TUCO agreed for this event to be in the mainstream events at the Queen's Park Savannah. Okay, so Queen's Park Savannah is the main attraction, right? I wonder if National Chutney Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago is a private organization. From the time you had to start with national, like government too. They say NCFTT is pleased and happy to be part of the main activities in Carnival. The chutney art form has finally been accepted as part of the National Carnival celebration. Let me repeat that. What he said? The chutney art form has finally been accepted as part of the National Carnival celebration. Wait, so chutney was never accepted as part of the national celebrations? What was happening to Raj here? When was that the case? Well, as far as I know, chutney has always been a part, or for a very long time, has been a part of the national celebration. But okay. We now have a blend of mass, pan, calypso, and chutney. That to me, so he never heard about chutney, soca, monarch, and all these things. Rad said the NCFTT had little time to organize the event. Oh, surprise, surprise. So the foundation's But due to the foundation's years of experience in production or producing the junior Okay. So this is a thing, the Junior Intellectual Chutney Monarch competition. It was easy to select the best artists from the chutney arena. Okay, so salute to them. Apparently they had something called a Junior Intellectual. All ever hear about this before because this is all new to me. Rad said several chutney artists were contacted and 22 submitted presentations of their work. He said based on the content of the submissions, 10 finalists were selected. So 22 people sent in the thing. Okay. We are in the process of approaching the Ministry of Culture and the private sector for prizes. I thought the ministry was the people who put on the event. There's not ministry yet. So I was trying to figure out what is an intellectual chutney competition. But what they say here is the songs will be nation-building songs and steer chutney in a positive direction. So the idea is, don't sing about no rum and roti and woman. Well, I didn't want to call it intellectual. You could have just told them don't sing about that. All right, so I guess they're trying to get rid of the rum songs and thing. Or at least have a different avenue by which chutney could be steered in a positive direction. That is the man words, right? So he added that the show will take place in the safe zone and will also be broadcasted. So 22 people submit presentations of their work. Salute to them. 22 people up for the challenge of chutney soca. No, I want to get this right. Intellectual chutney monarch. So the 10 finalists for the competition are Addis Samaru. Wait, hold on. Something not right. Only remember Addis Samaru? Addis Samaru. Addis Rum Till I Die Samaru is the first man selected in the intellectual chutney monarch. Well, I guess, let me know why the man, maybe the man, you know what I mean? People, artists have different sides. The same thing I was now saying about I1 thing. Addis Samaru is a veteran, so they're a little more wild. Amrika Mutru, Anthony Batson. Hey, let me tell you something. Go on Instagram and find Anthony Batson. Anthony Batson is a bad man when it comes to the chutney world. I ain't talking just chutney soca, I'm talking about chutney. Anthony Batson is a bad boy. Brittany Lightborn, David, Daddy Chiney. I don't know what to say about Daddy Chiney. Daddy Chiney is in. Destiny Ratan, Edward Ramdas, Falco Mirage, Karen Williams, Wakaman. I hope I know who is. I wonder which Wakaman. Anyhow, it's about chutney Wakaman. It had to be the chutney Wakaman, right? And Paris Coutin. So salute to them on being the finalists in the first ever intellectual chutney monarch competition. And who knows, you know, if I'm never know, I might go up in an intellectual chutney competition and see what it's about. It'd be nice to hear the topics they sing on. And I mean, they should just crown, you know, one of the things that I find we could do too, right? And I believe that we had started. Did we start doing that in Soca Monarch Boy or one of the competitions? I don't know if you ever see the Oscars or the Grammy, but for sure, now more so BET Awards and MTV Awards. You ever notice that in these award shows they have lifetime achievement awards for whether is people like whether it's artists or musicians or even actors in whichever award you're looking at, whether it's movie awards or music awards. They usually have a segment that deals with lifetime achievement for people who would be veterans who've been out there, their contribution is recognized and so on. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say about people like Iowa George, Shona Chester, and even somebody like Ricky Jai should be on that list when you're looking at an intellectual chutney competition. It would be so nice. And I don't want to say this in a vacuum because a part of me telling me like we've done some of this already, but it would be nice for it to be a consistent part of all competitions that we have. Just to recognize some of the people for their contribution. They have so many people who is like recognizing a man like Charles Barkley, even though he never win NBA championship. That makes sense. So we might even I use an Iowa Ricky Jai. Those guys win multiple titles in everything that we ever had. But we have so many people who would be in the competitions every year who might never have won, but made such a contribution to our society that we could use opportunities like these to recognize them, you know, and give them the flowers that they deserve before we do episodes that say rest in peace and all these different things. And, you know, I see Ricky Jai in the papers this week as well. It was so nice to see them talking about him. A series of things happened this week that was just, what is it called, serendipity, or just strange to see how it happened. When I was doing the research for the International Chutney Monarch, I saw an article being written about Ricky Jai and his wife and the fountain of youth. So Ricky Jai would be the ideal type of person to salute and honor, you know what I mean? In an event like the first intellectual soca monarch, because Ricky Jai, whether it's chutney or chutney soca or any genre he was in, give me all different kind of, we get rum and woman from him, we get storytelling, we get nation building. Ricky Jai, it's another type of song that Ricky Jai ain't sing yet. So I was encouraged when I see this article talking about him. And but it's from Michael Mondesi, as usual. This is always Michael Mondesi when it comes down to cultural articles. Salute to Michael Mondesi, keeping us up to date on the culture. And it says, youthful exuberance, a shift in focus brings new peace. He said that Ricky and his wife have... This is not me, eh? Ricky and his wife, Shelly-Ann, have undoubtedly discovered the fountain of youth, and they seem intent on keeping it to themselves. Jai, who turns 58 this September, looks a man half that age in his latest music video releases, I Don't Want to Live Alone and Old Time's Sake. The latter features an equally youthful Shelly-Ann. Well, if that is the case, I need to see. We had to hear this. Let me hear what is Ricky bringing now. Ricky always coming good, you know.
The ultimate king.
I like it already. It's vibes.
I don't want to live alone. I'm tired of talking to you on the phone. I don't want to live alone.
Wait. Well, sorry, yeah? Sorry. I mean to do this, but I want to. This is Ricky wife. Listen, when you get a minute, right? I'm going to pause this now and go and take in Ricky J. I Don't Want to Live Alone. Oh, no, wait. He said his wife is in the next song. All right, so you get Ricky, get me frightened. All right, back to the normal scheduling program. Whatever you say. Yes?
The ultimate king.
Come on! Jai Master! Hey! I don't want to live alone. I'm tired of talking to you on the phone.
Yes?
I don't want to live alone. Don't want to live alone. I just can't make it in this lonely world. I don't want to live alone. No.
Only? Ricky, I think Michael Mondesi was right. Ricky have plenty thing left in him. If you see Ricky video, all right, Ricky, you don't want to be alone. Let me see your wife looking like in this Old Time's Sake. So the next one is Old Time's Sake, right? Like taking that.
Ding 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 a day.
Yes?
Ding 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 a day. Ding 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 a day. Ding 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 a day. Ding 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 a day. Ding 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 a day. Hey, I know that we not together now, but still are the sweetest memories. Although we never used to always agree, I'm still here for you, baby.
Yeah, now he ain't lying. You see your wife like how he's lying. You see the next woman in the next video and the wife hiding.
It's not always what we wanted to be, no. But in this fest, I don't expect to act like I is your mister. I don't want we to go and hide the jam in a corner. Why put we self through that, girl? That is too much of stress and headache. Even though you will forgive me for all my foolish mistakes. Sure, we could take a jam just for old time's sake. Let we take a jam in for old time's sake.
What going on? Only go and listen to the song for yourself. Go and find it on YouTube and watch the video. Only Ricky, I think. Ricky? I better sing a chutney. What going on with me? I'm in wrong genre all the time. I had to sing some songs. And no, I happy where is that what I mean? I happy. Right here is Valentine's coming up and you set me up now. But taking Ricky Jai 2 songs. Ricky Jai 2 songs bad. But it's just to show you how things happen in news. I don't know why it's called this, like coincidence, alignment, serendipity, where it is. Because I read this morning and sad to say that he sat the passing of the great legendary Lata Mangeshkar. You know what I mean? And they say, I mean, for somebody to live to 92 and the whole world still in shock at your passing, like this shows the kind of impact that she would have had on the world. So it's condolences to everybody in the world, but particularly the chutney fraternity in Trinidad and Tobago. Where I saw an article in the Guardian by Rhonda Dowlett Rustant. And it went over, of course, the Prime Minister, the opposition leaders, several tributes poured out, but one of them stood out, right? They also had artists like Ravi B, like who else they had? Talking about her influence on them. Ravi B, Raymond Ramnarayan, and so on. But Nisha B, tributes or the things that she had to say really stood out to me. And it shows you the impact that an icon like Lata Mangeshkar had on our own culture. Speaking to the Guardian Media on Sunday from Chutney Band Carmen, Nisha B. Besamba said that said on hearing the news, she broke down in tears for hours. She said 95% of the songs she recorded were Mangeshkar's and added that she felt as though she was a part of her family. Nisha B posted on social media. You think you cannot cry or feel so much hurt for someone you never met but always loved and admired? My tears cannot stop. I idolized Lata Mangeshkar from the moment I knew what music was. My first songs, my biggest wish was to see her. My biggest wish was to see her at least once, my icon, my only icon. Who knows me knows my dedication to her music. I just looked at her tributes on Z and felt so many emotions. My heart is broken to bits. I wish I can tell her once what an impact she had on my career and as a singer, and to thank her. And Ravi B said something very, very similar as well in terms of wanting to be able to meet her or see her, or, see her perform once. And it just goes to show you the kind of impact people like this have. And the tributes were global. This is no small. So I don't want to limit her influence to our chutney music as well. And condolences to the East Indian community in Trinidad as well, who wouldn't have known her music just through chutney sing do-overs, for instance. They would have known her original music and it would have been a part of their households. And I don't want to say would be, because that's the thing about music. The music will continue to live on. And it will continue to be a part of the households in communities in Trinidad and Tobago and part of the household in households, right? It will continue to be a part of the life of many, many households in Trinidad and Tobago. So salute to her. And I mean, again, when you had 92 and the whole place in shock, so it shows you the kind of impact they have. There's no newspaper or no media that didn't cover this today, and people were shocked, and it's sad. So when I saw this lined up with Ricky Jai, I said, let me go back to it, because I would not know who Lata Mangeshkar is. I know when Ricky Jai said Lata Mangeshkar. I remember that song, Sumintra, from Ricky Jai. He's one of the greatest calypsos ever written, right? We only know how to say that, right? But we will take it in, and I want you to take in calypso writing and delivery and composition at its best. It don't get no better than this. But I remember as a child hearing that song and thinking to myself, like, I don't understand what he's saying. I thought it was one word, when he said Lata Mangeshkar, I was trying to figure out. I thought Holy Lata Mangeshkar was one word. I was like, what is this? And I had to ask my mother at the time, like, what is Lata Mangeshkar? And what it mean? And she explained to me what this song was about and who Lata Mangeshkar was at the time. And look how much years that I talking about. That had to be in the 80s. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but that's some time ago. So, I mean, I don't want to do the thing that I always do, where I make the assumption that these things that I might know, everybody know. I want to be more like Hot Foot Harmony and talk about things that maybe people know and people didn't know. And she's always saying in her videos, like if you had know it, comment if you didn't, but share the video either way. So I want to go back to Ricky Jai Sumintra and take in this masterpiece in music. Classic song from our time.
It gives me great pleasure this evening to welcome to the Palladium Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar.
Bilia chamkegi soka aha aha. Bilia chamkegi give me soka aha aha. Give me soka aha aha. Boy, give me soka aha aha.
Aha aha.
Sumintra born in a shack in Delhi, and she parents
From Indian walk,
this pretty girl have me tracking,
whole day.
killing me with she fancy talk.
Yes.
It's for years I suited she, and she blushing back at me. But when I send my letter, she would send no answer. So I hit the record shops, Indian records I buy up. When I reach my girl,
She said stop, Ricky stop.
she say, Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca, aha aha. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca, aha aha. Tickle me with a love way,
Soca me till I
say. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca, aha aha. Aye. Me try charge me for being racist and tell me don't take them chance with she. Don't let me catch you in that foolishness, trying to reach the Indian in me. Like you into politics, or you coming on the tricks. Boy, I'm a train begonia. I like soca action. Take your Mohammed rap and bring Skota or Bali. Only then you be talking to me. Yes, Ricky, she say
Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Now listen, the legendary song, and legendary. Salute to the great Ricky Jai. See what I said about legends? He performed that song anywhere in the world now, and it get that same kind of energy from back then. So I mean, credit where it's due to, because the song is composed by a fellow by the name of Gregory Ballantyne. You know him, a little known fellow by Gregory Ballantyne, and arranged by Kenny Phillips. Some of the greats, right? So some of the icons and the greats come together and make that song. And I couldn't imagine a song like that delivered by anybody but Ravi. I couldn't imagine a song like that delivered by anybody but Ricky Jai. I hope I didn't do what I just do last week with Hotfoot Sarah and Hotfoot Harmony. I hope I was saying Ricky Jai all the time. If I was saying Ravi Bioli, I'm sorry, it was not on purpose. Ricky Jai. I couldn't imagine anybody else delivering that song. And I just want to leave you on this too. When you have some time, Google Lata Mangeshkar. If you're not familiar with her, I'm telling you already that you're familiar with her music, right? But just look for Lata Mangeshkar samples, and you will see how much her music influenced not just our music here, but hip-hop, reggaeton, is all over the world. Every genre of music was touched with her music. So again, condolences to everybody who will be mourning the passing of that. And them words from Nisha B was really touching. So I expect that in the intellectual chutney competition as well, we probably gonna get a few songs that that dedicated to her legacy as well in music and her influence in our chutney music. Yeah, so you can't sing about Roman woman. We have a topic to sing about there in dedication too. So so congratulations to the 10 finalists who make it in, and condolences to those who celebration of the life of Lata Mangeshkar. Let me put it that way, right? When I talk about all these nice topics and cultural things, I just find it hard to go back to McDonald Jacob and them. But somehow we always end up there. So let's bear with me, right? We going back to Mac, my guy Mac. Now, I want to read a headline here for you in an article, right? Where I don't know if you could believe it. You might feel I make this up. But McDonald Jacob on the 4th of February 2022, according to Anna Ramdas, he reveals that we have hitmen for hire. Thank you so much, Captain Obvious. Hitmen for hire. McDonald Jacob wait till he reached the highest level of the police service, and he realized there that they have hitmen for hire. So all these years, this man been a policeman. He now find this out. Salute to you. Salute to you. You're working. At least you're getting down into the trenches. You know what I mean? You know what's going on the ground. So hitmen are being hired from criminal gangs to murder people. This is a revelation. And criminals are lurking online to prey on unsuspecting women. This is wow. This is investigative journal. What is called this? If it's the police, that can't be journalism. This is investigative policing at its best. As Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob yesterday reminded citizens of the dangers they face, he called for legislation to be revisited to ensure people with multiple charges for firearm offenses are denied bail for up to 6 months, to give police time. All right, wait, let me compose myself. I'm serious. I'm not laughing, right? I don't laugh. McDonald Jacob wants the bail thing redone so that he could do at least 6 months before you grant bail for firearm. It's 6 months, half a year. So the police could have in time to investigate and conduct the investigation. This is good. I want to clap for myself for that. I don't want to just use it something for. Jacob told the Express that criminals are lurking on the streets as well as in the virtual world. Wow. These hitmen are paid thousands of dollars to murder people. What? Listen, I feel so much more comfortable with McDonald Jacobs at the helm now. This man is doing the work. This man is in the trenches. He's found this out. There are gangs out there that have some segments of their operations to be hired for that purpose. Oh my God, McDonald. The commissioner said the dates. I'm not reading nothing else to do. Let me close off this one time. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting myself through it, I swear. I'm not reading no more of McDonald's Jacob data. One thing the man have, I feel he take over the CSO. Like CSO is a part of McDonald's Jacob's thing. I'm not going in through and I ain't going through that no more. And while we have that, we have Gary Griffith, right? I'm hoping I think it will make sense. If I figure out how to do this, I include this in the episode. You might never hear this, but on Gary Griffith Instagram, right? Gary Griffith have a montage. Let me move away from McDonald's Jacob one time and go back to the entertainment. The name of the Instagram page is Captain Gary Griffith Official. Sorry, Captain Gary Griffith Official, right? That's the name of the Instagram page. It's a no blue tick, so I don't know if this is the real Gary, but I have to assume that it is based on all the posts that came before this, and this is where I get all the information on Gary anyway, and all his addresses come here because he don't trust these people in the media anyhow. Is Gary Griffith, former National Security Advisor, former Minister of National Security, former Commissioner of Police, who is around, according to McDonald Jacob. He not lurking in the shadows and online. He online heavy. And seems to, I don't know, he's willing to serve the people, right? But the last post from Gary Griffith on this Instagram page, for those of you who are watching it on YouTube, I'm going to try to get a video version of this in here. If I don't, you will just have to go to the page and watch it, right? This is Gary Griffith TikTok version, right?
Missing him yet?
Go for them anywhere. Gaza, we go for them anywhere. Action over word, me say. Something I go fly like bird, me say. Them know, say me know, say them afraid of me. Them know, say me know, say them afraid of me. And when them up on them ugly face, them know, say me know, say them afraid of me. Me head hotter than a microwave. Looking at me on with the on the bike a wave. Stand up there like you're brave. Like say you get a vision or sight your grave. Make sure say.
Listen, I can't make this up. I wish I could have made up things like this, but this is on the official Captain Gary Griffith page. Look at the backing track that Gary chose. So Gary, no, when I can't help but side with Gary when he taking shots at McDonald Jacob, because I mean, this man say they are hitmen for hire. I don't know if the stats was going and going into how much hitmen it had when Gary was there, and how much hitmen it had from Burroughs, and how he reduced the amount of hitmen. I'm not reading no more McDonald Jacob stats, I swear. I'm done with that on this podcast. But I mean, Gary's selection, as much as we love the Great Vibes Cartel, one of the greatest dancehall artists ever lived, I think you should be a little mindful as the commissioner of police when you have somebody who's serving time for murder as your backing track, starting with a little TikTok voice saying, do you miss him yet? No, I had to assume that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I don't know if I could figure out how to get this on the YouTube episode. So I don't know if Gary could figure out how to make this video with that montage or all them different things. All these man seem to be good on the TikTok. Yeah? Maybe I wonder if he's willing to do a little production work, since my producer abandoned me mid-episode again. But maybe he can help me with these little things because the video well put together. But I'd assume if they say they're missing him yet, maybe it's somebody thing he just reposts or whatever. But I don't know if it's the best decision. But I mean, entertainment-wise, you can't beat Gary for content. I ain't reading no more McDonald Jacob stats again. It's over. I'm done. In more news along those lines where crime and so on concerned, and I'm talking about international stories. There are plenty of international stories on this listener. But wait, before I go on to that, I just want to play a piece of something. Since it ain't so right to just agree with Gary and move on, right? You gotta, if we shooting, we shooting. If it's cartel, it's cartel. I want to play a former monarch here. Because I also see your boy Gary was a little upset this week gone here. Because he say, you know, the witch hunting, you know, he's always come with the witch hunting, right? So everybody's trying to fight him down and them kind of thing. He says the first time in the history of his life that he ever see a newspaper print out the lyrics to calypso. Then as part of the Get Gary campaign. So I just want to play a little piece because there was last week, I think I was talking about Devon Seal singing one, but the great Dwayne O'Connor, Calypso Monarch. I ever tell him a story about how I was to beat Dwayne O'Connor in a Calypso competition and I flopped big time and he beat me. Alright, we'll talk about that next time. But Dwayne O'Connor, I want about Gary, and Gary is not pleased. Let me hear what Dwayne had to say. Yes?
am Lord of all that I survey. And everyone must do just what I say.
Really?
That's how it was in the island colony when the governor was ruling TNT. Now one man wants to take us back.
We're back.
Anyone he will attack. Not afraid to let you know who is boss, since he took charge of the police force. But the man of his views, he feeling that his views he should never refuse. He's so delusional, and we should put him upon a pedestal. Cause GG means Governor General. The man in skylarking, everyone he marking, and he would start barking at every car that pass. And he stands as the newest admiral. Cause GG means Governor General. Meet him, the new Governor General.
Kaiso?
Anyone out there still have the number?
Not me.
662 82
482 Gary.
Irrelevant.
Sing.
Here's my card. Call me personally. It's never a team. It's always I, not we.
Oh, really?
From now on, there'll be a new approach, and I'm going to crush all them human cockroach.
Yes.
But on the lighter side of town,
Like Westmoreland?
where there seems to be no wrong, hear him always boasting he know the law. One for the rich, next one for the poor. But the man of his views, he feeling that his views he should never refuse. He's such a narcissist, and we should put him upon a pedestal. Cause GG means Governor General.
Kaiso boy.
And he sung so sincere.
Yes.
Two men placed in our care, falling off a tall chair and killed under his watch. But all of that is immaterial. Cause GG means Governor General. He is
The Governor General. I can't stop it, you know.
We would say the pledge every morning in school. Honor our teachers, our leaders,
And Gary.
and those in authority. This verse is dedicated to the Prime Minister of our independent
Let me hear that.
republic.
Yeah? Let me hear you.
To our PM, he showed little respect. Says the newspaper, they got it incorrect.
Oh, really?
No one in this land could ever summons me. There's not a soul with that authority. It was clear from that public spat. All he missing was he cock hat. Told the PM that massa day's done, but it looked like they leave back one. But the man of his views, he feeling that his views he should never refuse. He's so egotistical, and we should put him upon a pedestal. Cause GG means Governor General. He says he's the brightest. They hiding the right list, even with arthritis. He could beat them all again, and if was a race, he'll win the gold medal. Cause GG means Governor General. Meet him, GG,
Governor General.
Imagine this man take a whole press conference to talk about me. He said I could sing about him. Well, take this.
Yes.
Anybody looking for a firearm to use a license?
No.
30,000, 20,000. It's been described as a well-oiled enterprise. But when the mark bust, he acting so surprised.
Oh, really?
And who's that one? Your personal secretary. And overnight, she become a SRP. Now Mr. Toppy up in arms, trying to fool us with his charms. Saying his good character we undermine, when all that he did was just sign.
Yeah.
But the man have his views, he feeling that his views he should never refuse. Confused by his own name, and we should put him upon a pedestal. Cause GG means Governor General. Hire friends from the army, pay them big salary, and crying not guilty while extending their contracts.
Yes.
But shortening we hours for carnival. Cause DG means Governor General. Meet him, the new
Governor General. They wait any time to go. Listen, get the man the monarch, you know. Only get the man the monarch. Gary responded. Gary said, "But I will suspended police. We want Gary shoot in a while." But listen, Kaiso. Somebody had to do a drop for me saying Kaiso. Nobody have a voice where they could just say Kaiso for my boy, where I could play that, because that is Kaiso. You don't get no Kaiso better than that. From the first word to the last word, you can't cut it off. So I confirm it now that I'm going in the pod. All who like to complain and say it's no Kaiso and thing to listen to, all they hear Kaiso. Salute. New tongue boys, you know? You know what I mean? All only went them other schools, try and get a turn in New tongue. Sad news. I'm moving on to sad news. Before we here a long time, you know, we getting out here just now, but I had to move on to some sad news because I watched this and I say I wasn't going to say nothing about it, but I see this and all on the international news cycle everywhere. I'm reading from the Washington Post. This is not the Newsday or the Guardian or the Express. This is from the Washington Post. Venezuelan baby killed in mother's arms as Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard fires at migrant boat. Caracas, Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard officers fired at a boat carrying Venezuelan migrants on Saturday night, wounding a mother and killing the baby in her arms, authorities said on Sunday. The fatal shooting took place as officers tried to stop the boat crossing the Venezuelan border into Trinidad maritime border, of course, in what the island nation of officials describe as an act of self-defense, according to a Coast Guard statement. Venezuelan human rights lawyers and opposition officials condemned the shooting and demanded an investigation. They said the death of a boy along with his mother fled from the dictatorship hurts our soul as a country, tweeted Venezuelan opposition leader Guaido. I go pretend like I pronounced that right. Remember they had some issues with them the other day? Guaido. The shots fired by Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard are unjustified and they killed him. The Coast Guard spotted the boat as it crossed the Venezuelan border into Trinidad and Tobago waters just before midnight on Saturday night, according to a statement posted on Facebook by Keron Valera, a lieutenant and public affairs officer with the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard crew had tried to intercept the boat using its horn, searchlight, flares, and so on. The boat continued forward with aggressive moves, attempting to ram the Coast Guard vessel. The vessel was larger than the Coast Guard boat, the statement said, and its advances caused crew members to fear for their lives, prompting them to fire shots at the vessel's engine, according to the Coast Guard statement, which did not specify how much shots were fired. Well, officials said the recent use of this evasive technique against the Coast Guard in other instances had caused ship damage and risked the safety of crew members. Listen, that story is sad all wrong. I mean, it will make its rounds globally. The Coast Guard defending themselves by saying that they were defending themselves and tried to ram the boat. Up to this point, to be honest with you, I in my mind, I was picturing our big grey Coast Guard vessel and a small boat trying to ram the vessel. And I was feeling a certain type of way about it when I had that image in my mind. You see why I got to read and understand? Because now that I understand, if it's true that the boat was bigger than our Coast Guard vessel, I mean, that is a concern for real, because you see how things meant. I don't know how y'all view this, but in my mind, when I think of people who fleeing to come here, I always have little pirogues and small boats and thing in my mind. It seems as though I'm absolutely wrong about that, because if they're bigger than our Coast Guard boats, then we have a national security problem that we had to address. Because this situation with Venezuela probably wouldn't change anytime soon. It seemed to be going in waves. You know, we had a huge migration the other day when things seemingly collapsed over there. And every now and again you see attempts to migrate like this. And the numbers lately seem to have been high as well. And it was high enough back in the day, a couple of years ago, where we had to take an organized approach to it and, have a plan for how we're going to approach it. But now I haven't heard anything talking about this new influx of numbers and if we're going to regularize people or whatever we're going to do. And I heard the Prime Minister respond to it in a way by saying, we have to respond, when things like this happen. And it's true. I mean, my take on this, I don't know if I spoke about this. I don't know if I had the podcast when they had the first large group of Venezuelans coming over, but I believe in one world, and I know it's naive and it's simplistic and all that, but that is my belief, and I don't feel good about people being stopped from going or coming in any country that they want to go to. I find it's kind of ridiculous that you could just draw off a part of the sea and say that belong to you, and that is real man-made thing that I might never understand. But the situation is one of them where no matter how you look at it, it's just unfortunate because, I mean, the Coast Guard people have families to go home to, and those people trying to move to a better life. So the situations like these, who you going to say the wrong and who right, and would it really matter when a baby die and a woman had to deal with that? You know what it would take for you to have to flee your country with your baby in your arms. And in my mind, all this time is an open period you in, but you're not pretty secure boat if that is the case, if it's bigger than our Coast Guard boat. Unless it's one of our little Coast Guard boats and it's not the big grey one that I have in mind, maybe. But it's just such a sad situation, boy. So I just really wanted to touch on it. I don't have much of an opinion about it other than the fact that it's very, very sad. And rest in peace to that. I mean, it's a little baby. We had to have the compassion on both sides of the border to say, listen, regardless of what the situation is, we don't want it to come to that. And this is why you had to come to some agreements with migration and immigration and those things concerned, because more people going to risk that tomorrow. While I speaking, people planning how to risk that right now. Like Stacey make me watch this little show the other day. Now, using the word Stacey made me, because I don't know, I was not interested in this whatsoever. A show called Undocumented. And boy, listen, that undocumented show, that thing was a little sad. That show was a little bit sad. It's about people who leave Mexico and cross the border to come into the States. And one of the cases that they were showing was a guy who they sent his wife back and the son, and they went to this detention center. And if he go with I think they stop them in a roadblock, they take her into the detention center. So he end up with his lady's son, well, his stepson basically. And they decide that she will go back with his stepson. So he had to carry the child into the detention center. And the lawyers warned them and tell them, listen, if you go there, you could get detained too because you're here illegal. And he had to carry back the boy. And listen, that when you look at them type of immigration stories, it's just sad, boy. You had to watch that little show Undocumented if you're interested in issues like those. And it shows you the way immigrants could be treated like less than human in some of the biggest countries in the world. And I just want us to always be mindful and be careful that we never become like that. Because you never know when you could be on the next side of the fence, you know what I mean? So sad situation throughout. I want to move on to my own situation from that, where COVID is concerned. I'm good. I think I passed the worst. I tasted and everything just as an update, right? Because people are still asking, man, how I'm feeling and that kind of thing. I'm not feeling bad at all. I tasting and I smelling and all these nice things. So feeling like I fully recovered. I had that negative test, but my quarantine period is officially over and I am for these streets. But I want to read something I see in The Guardian here by Sasha Wilson about this, right? The Ministry of Health, MOH, I suppose that means, makes changes to home isolation guidelines, right? The Ministry of Health has made some changes to the home isolation guidelines. CMO Dr. Parasram made the announcement during the COVID-19 press conference yesterday. Now, the date of this article is on Saturday, the 5th of February, right? So he's talking about on the 4th of February. Now, remember what I talked about in the last 2 episodes about my experience with COVID, right? He said that people in self-quarantine will continue to be officially discharged 14 days after the date they were exposed to a suspected or confirmed case once they continue to display no symptoms. So they're changing it. Now, self-quarantine at home was what I was going through, right? Now, I tell you, I was exposed. I went to a household and the people called me a couple of days after and said, listen, somebody in your household test positive for COVID, so I might be at risk. When I did go went on in the house, I say, you know what? It's better I isolate myself from my family one time just in case I start feeling any symptoms. And by the next day or the next couple of days, I was feeling better. Now, keep in mind that means I spent a day or two interacting with other people. The first couple of days were before I knew that I was in contact with somebody who was positive. I was interacting with Stacy, with her mother. I think I play football, the fellas by me here and thing. Keep in mind that nobody who I was interacting with then got COVID. Thank God for that. Nobody had any symptoms. Nobody didn't get no COVID. Even the people in my household. I talk about that at length in terms of how I isolate and all that, right? And I want to say that once I found out what it was and I isolate, everybody had to make that choice for themselves, because I could have isolated and got no symptoms whatsoever and test negative. But that wasn't the case. But I felt like it was the safest thing to do at the time. I was already in isolation and got the positive test. And maybe about 4 or 5 days after that positive test, I got a call from the district health thing, a doctor in Shogunas here, to say that they have the positive test and it means that I have to quarantine for 20 days. I want to find this thing, because I was not only told this, but I was sent an email. So somebody who know Dr. Parashram, well, let's tell him this woman, because I don't know if he know what going on, but the people who calling you not giving you 14 days. If it was 14 days, I could have been outside since last week. They sent something called a quarantine order. And I want to read it for you. They put my whole government name and my government address and my phone number. They say you have been assessed. They say it listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Let me go through them quick. You have been assessed as a possible risk for the transmission of the novel coronavirus. The CMO of the Chief Medical Officer of Health of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, in accordance with the authority, powers, and discretion vested in Section 104C of the Public Health Ordinance, Chapter 12, Number 4, and by delegated authority, has directed you to be quarantined, and they put my whole address for 20 dawith the effective date 17th of January 2022. So the thing in bold with my address and 20 days. In other words, I mustn't leave my address. You are allowed to leave this location. You are not allowed to leave. This is number 3. You're not allowed to leave this location during this period, nor are you allowed visitors. Nobody can come by me, I can leave. Failure to comply with these quarantine orders makes you liable on conviction to fine and imprisonment. And then they say if you develop shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, become very ill, call an ambulance and so on. So I just saying this to say, right, that I was very, very surprised when I see Dr. Parashram talking about the guidelines will remain at 14 days. My brother, the guidelines is no, I don't know if the guidelines is 14 days, but that's not what they're telling people. Another thing I want to read, that one of the persons from the household where I would have contracted COVID, they told me that their letter said that they have to go and sign somewhere when the 20 days finish. So they have to go into the wherever health place and sign a release from thing. But my own said that you are also comply with. Well, maybe she tell me that over the phone, because I think they had tell me that maybe they tell me that over the phone. I thought it was written here, but they just said that once I finish the 20 days, are released from quarantine automatically. Whereas in South, they say you had to go and sign something at the household I went to. So this is just it's just strange when you read this article. Like, is the guideline 14 days or is it 20 days? Do you have to sign in when you go on? And to confirm that it's 20 days, right? Remember that I came here and say about negative antigen tests and stuff, but I didn't want to take the risk and go out on these streets. I afraid crime. I don't want to get locked up. So when they say fine and imprisonment, if it was fine or imprisonment, I might have take more chances. But the doctor who called me, I don't know if it's the same person, but the same one who called to explain everything to me before they send this email with the quarantine order, they called as well to tell me that, hey, your final day is X. Are you feeling any symptoms, or you feeling you're good? Glad to hear that and thing, it was kind of nice of them to do, to be honest with you. I mean, I find it real. It's wasting time a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I felt like if this is a doctor, I feel like the time could be better spent. And text message and email and thing is working. I mean, an automated response, and if you get back something saying somebody ain't feeling good, then you respond to those calls only. But I mean, I guess it's nice to have somebody check up on you. But and I asked her, I said, so all I had to call everybody who had COVID. She said, yeah, our resources really thin because at one point we used to call people every day. And I think, I mean, that's a nice gesture, but it may be unnecessary in most cases, I think. Let me just say in most cases, not in my case, because I feel like I was rallying through and Dr. Stacy and Dr. Zachary was taking care of me, so I don't need the resources of another doctor dedicated on checking in on me. And I felt like everything was spelled out there, and I could, if I had to escalate in terms of going to the hospital, I was pretty sure as to what to do at this point. But I mean, I just reading this to say we had to clear up what the guidelines are, because he's talking about guidelines changing. Because when I first got it, I tell myself, all right, I have a 14 days lockdown. And to be honest with you, after 14 days, I was feeling good. But it's real obscure. It's 20 days. It's 20 days with a sign release. Some of them saying the day of your test results. Some of them saying the day that you first get symptoms. So it's real unclear. So Dr. Parasham, I hope all you get this thing clear and get one voice and execute with one voice so that there shouldn't be any obscurity when it comes to this thing. Like, we come down to one measure and execute on that. Couple things before we get out of here. I see a headline in the Express this week too. This is from Dunstan Bond, from the Minister of National Security, saying, no, my duty is not to ensure that people feel safe and secure. Well, the opposition, this is from Fitzgerald Hines, right? The Minister of National Security. And the Minister of National Security is basically saying, listen, it's in my work to make the place secure. But here what I like what you say, right? And it's just in relation to what I was talking about earlier. It was on Fazir Mohammed show and the opposition taking him to task, but I kind of want to agree with Fitzy on this one. He was basically saying on Fazir's show that his duty is not to ensure that people are safe. His duty is to ensure that the organizations and agencies that are responsible for public safety and border safety and so on, they equipped with the right resources, they have what they need, he give them encouragement and general support. That is his duty. So while he getting licks for this, and I mean, when you look at that situation with Venezuela and this same unfortunate situation, I don't wonder what's happening with border security concern and how they're going to respond to this, because now this is an international incident. But I have a tendency to agree with the Heinze on this one a little bit, you know. Not that it's not his responsibility. I think it's his ultimate responsibility is to make sure people feel safe and secure. But what he's saying is what I want to get to more with governance. You're responsible for not just the agencies, because when he say agencies and organization, he's talking about public sector. But if we approach it more like we're trying to facilitate and put the things in place, I call it infrastructure. Put those things in place so that people could get a job done. I think we're in a better place. But, you know, sometimes it's just the way we put things, you know, the way we put the words together. Because when you're the Minister of National Security, I'm not sure that you want to get quoted at all saying that, you know, don't get them nothing where they could put a headline saying my duty is not to ensure that people safe. You know that the opposition going to pick that up and run, and you ain't even get them much opportunity to have to twist around your words and manipulate it in any way. You kind of put it out there that they could use that for fodder for a long time, but I think the man right. And the greatest, when you're talking manipulation, I don't know if all you watched this yet, and it's complete spoiler alert if you didn't watch it yet. So this is the end of the episode. You could cut out now if you didn't see the Tinder swindler. Bye, I'll see you all in next week, and you come back to it when you finish next week. When you find back where episode 84 went, and now you find it 85. You could go back and check out Tinder swindler, and then you could come back and hear my comments on it. But I don't know if all you watch this, but take a little while and watch this, because you're watching the show, it is jaw-dropping the way this man operating. This man is basically putting on a facade of wealth. Good-looking little fella too, you know what I mean? He had the looks and the things to go with it, and all the brand name clothes and the cars and the full lifestyle is what you're seeing on Tinder, right? I don't know if all the single people who's listening to this, all you on Tinder, and think this podcast is only for married people. But when you're on Tinder, you're looking for a little match. Mostly, from what I understand, is a hookup type of thing, but I suppose you could get relationships, whatever you want out of it. And the statistics there to show that online, through the algorithms, it might be easier to find a match that way than to try to figure that out yourself by meeting people in the grocery and in a bar, according to one of the girls on the show, right? But the lady is clearly smitten by this guy that have it together, right? And, you know, it's a feeling that I have about this whole notion of women being gold diggers. I ain't saying it's not a woman who pocket watching, and you had to have a certain amount to deal with them and thing. But I will also say that when you accomplish a certain high level, I find like you have an aura, man or woman. When you meet people who highly accomplished, right, and the money might be a part of the benefits of that high level accomplishment, they have a kind of aura about them. And I don't think the aura is just the nice clothes, although them things is added to it, the nice clothes and the jewelry and the car and the cologne and the perfume and all them things might be adding to the aura. But a part of the aura is just the success itself. Like, it's feel good being around successful people. I like being around people who enormously successful. And I was trying not to groupie myself out by accident. I'm like, how you do this, how you get here. But I soak in all that energy. I want to get the essence. Like, I want to be around. That's why I go in for it. My goal is to be a 1%, you know. So when I'm around the 1%, I take it in that essence. And sometimes I get carried away because here what's happening to you sometimes. Sometimes you see the 1% driving a certain car, wearing certain clothes, and the idea is to buy into that 1%edness by trying to keep up with them and buy them clothes and think I think I'm over that stage in my life. I ain't trying to do that no more, although I was there for sure. But what I try to do is soak up as much of that aura as possible. Well, boy, my guy, the Tinder swindler, he have all the elements of it, if you want to call it, as well as with the material parts, the aura and all that, because call them gold diggers, call them people who want to soak up success, whatever it is. But when you're very successful, you're going to be very attractive. and the Washington Post again is saying, Tinder swindler con artist is the subject of a new Netflix documentary. Is banned from the dating app. So Tinder tried to get rid of him because they may want to. I'm sure they're trying to get their name as far away from this as possible. But when you go on Tinder and you see this man, and according to the first girl who they interview, she see the lifestyle, how he living, what he wearing. She realize it legit because you're seeing plenty pictures in plenty different places. She check his Instagram, so you're seeing as a real person. It's no what you call the next one catfish. It's no catfish situation. And then when you go and you meet him, he's showing you the lifestyle too. He's staying in top tier hotels, he's paying for dinners, he's flying you out, private, the full works. And what's the greatest thing about it is, this man is basically running a human Ponzi scheme. Salute. But the man name I think is Simon Hayat. He have about 100 different names. So this man is basically running a human Ponzi scheme. So you see how a Ponzi scheme, you're putting a little bit of money and you get the illusion of getting interest. This is what he's doing basically. He gave you the illusion of interest and the illusion of a nice life that anybody would want. You know what I mean? If you fly me out, you know what I mean? I'm like a swindle to him now. But he giving you that illusion, putting this thing out there, taking you out, treat you nice, spend good money on you, and then basically call you and say, hey, what's going on? Because apparently the first girl get catch because when they get on to love making, when he thing gets steamy, she realize he has some wealth on the back and he tell a kind of jail story and this and that, and kind of make it sound like it have a dangerous side to it. Next thing the man started sending video picture. His security guard get beat up, this, that, the thing. He freeze all your accounts because identity theft. Send him at 25,000. No, it is 25,000 US. But the way he living, he giving you the illusion that 25,000 is nothing to him. He living big. So he send that. And you know what he doing is a genius in the Ponzi scheme? He paying you back the 25,000. So one person gave him 25, he sent back 50. He say, hold that, man, love yourself, you know what I mean? Thanks for that, you pull him out there. So you ain't getting no horrors now when he tell you, boy, this man put the girl, one of the girls in a real debt. This girl borrow 50,000, borrow next 50, max out to the girl Amex card, and then he locking you off after that and moving on. The genius of the thing, and this way you lock off, if you're still listening, then you real like spoiler alert. Because the hard part of the thing is in the end, my guy is right back where he was. He make a little small jail for something he do. I think it was in Israel. They went back and they catch him, the journalism. The journalists something get after him and they catch him. And that man make about 3 months or 6 months something and back on the streets. But I'll even only with that. Taking your show for the week is that Tinder swindler thing, because it is unbelievable how he get past so much people with this scam to the point where he could drive high-end vehicles, have luxury watches, luxury clothes he's sending. He taking it to the point where like he have these... He scams so much people that you have these luxury cars, watches, clothes. At one point, a girl, she's smart. She get back a whole couple suitcases of luxury high-end clothes. She clean up them things nice, iron them and sell them so she could get back some of her money before he realized that the girls and them connect with one another and they want thing. But you had to take that in. They come good with Netflix. And at one point, Netflix used to give some real good documentaries. And I feel like they stray from that, you know what I mean? When you get a little fire festival and you get these things, it used to be nice. But my guy Simon Leviev or Shimon Hayat, he's in the swindler, he's the man to take it. So I'll leave it only on that. I have a song for this year, you know. I tell Ollie I'm closing off every one of these episodes with a soca of this year. And my soca of this year is from the legend, Cohen Dubois, who I used to doubt a lot, and I say he only had 1 or 2 songs until my guy, so let my guy Joel Popplewell, who want to put me in my place at time and tell me, hey, don't come wrong, Cohen, I hits for days. And this song, I think the name of this song is For It All. I like the vibe, it is a nice little easy energy. Take it in.
Hope you're there filled with gratitude.
Me stay humble as ever.
So very grateful,
So grateful.
for life. They could tip the shirt off my back. I have life, yes, I have life. And if the soul and my shoes bust up, I breathe and find grateful for
I'm
life.
grateful for life, grateful for life. Hands them walking, I feel alive. Foot them walking, I feel alive. Everything walking, I feel alive. And
I'm grateful for it all. So very grateful for it all.
it's the simple things that matter to me. Hey, and I'm a simple one, don't care what you say. Hey, you don't know how I stay.
Puts we under pressure and we freedom under attack.
From ever since I could remember, the system tryna hold me back.
A new year means new opportunities. Grab it, don't let go.
When you fall short and you're on your knees,
Pray for the will to grow. We have it here.
we have it, yeah.
This is we own.
This is the old.
No mountain or hill could take we off the throne.
No, no, no.
We have it here.
We have it, yeah.
This is we own. No mountain or hill could take we off the throne. They could tip the shirt off my back. I have life, yes, I have life. And if the soul and my shoes bust up, I breathe and find grateful for life.
I'm grateful for life, grateful for life. Hands them walking, I feel alive. Foot them walking, I feel alive. Everything walking, I feel alive. And
I'm grateful for it all. So very grateful for it all.
it's the simple things that matter to me. Hey, and I'm a simple one, don't care what you say. Hey, grateful for my family, friends that there for me. God keep blessing me, God keep blessing me. Grateful for my family, friends that there for me. God keep blessing me, God keep blessing me.
I'm grateful for it all. So very
Hey, listen, it's Cohen Dubois featuring Echo or Echo. EKO, right? And she's singing good too, you know what I mean? So, grateful for it all. This song, I lively-cated this one because I tell Oli last time. Every time I talk to people and tell them I have COVID, the most common response is me too. And a few of the most loyal listeners to this podcast tell me they are COVID too. So, keep everybody in all their prayers. We have a little podcast family, you know, so we're looking forward to seeing everybody rallying through. And in the end, we go sing like Cohen and we're grateful for life and how much things that we have. So I will see you all here next week.